No matter what happens in the world, couldn't imagine anything worse than a pandemic. This asset class is resilient. This asset class can perform no matter what happens. And I think that that's what really opened people's eyes up to getting behind the industries is that no matter what happens, and even in recessions, domestic travel is flat to up. International travel is down about 14%. Domestic's flat to up. So people are not going to stop traveling. We need human connection. We need to travel. It's something we yearn for. And if you shut the whole world down, we're still going to find ways to get out there and experience national parks. I mean, the national parks probably have the highest volume of tourism in history. And so getting outside became more important, spending time, more time with people that you deeply care about instead of, maybe spreading yourself thin was a big component of what the pandemic kind of highlighted. So it was crazy, but it was something that we were able to kind of navigate, and here we are, and we're better and stronger for it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Powers, and I want to thank you for joining me on the Fort Podcast today. This show is an open-ended discussion and journey covering real estate, business, entrepreneurship, and investing. I would love to hear from you by tweeting me at Fort Worth Chris on Twitter. And if you've enjoyed this show, I would be super grateful if you would subscribe on Apple or Spotify or whatever platform you're listening on. And if on Apple, if you would leave a rating and review, it would mean a lot. And last but not least, you can check out all these episodes on YouTube. Hey guys, it's Chris. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Fort. I have Sean Breuner, who is the co-founder of AvantStay, with me today on the podcast. This is a fascinating episode. Whether you're into tech or real estate, we go deep into the short-term rental industry and how it's changing drastically and how this is becoming a very profitable asset class, one that banks want to lend on, one that institutions are trying to get in, but more importantly, one that's offering amazing experiences for people to enjoy vacations with their families and friends. So as someone who has been looking at buying a short-term rental as possibly a second vacation home, this was a very information-packed episode that gave me a lot more confidence. So thank you very much for continuing to join me on this journey, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Sean, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How we doing?
Good. Let's start with a little bit about the idea and the vision behind AvantStay and kind of what you did in your career to kind of lead up to it.
Yeah, I'll try to give the short version and we can dig in from there. But my background has always been in real estate and technology. And I think my passion has always been in hospitality and travel. And growing up in a family of 5 boys, God bless my mother, 7 of us. When we would travel, we would stay at hotels, and it was always calling down to the rooms and meet in the lobby at 6. Where's Ryan? Where's Josh? Where's Jake? So it was a lot of wrangling troops and lugging stuff down to the pool and kind of moving all around the hotel and figuring out where we're going to be and where we need to go. And while I love hotels, that was more of a stressful experience than what a vacation felt like. And so just started thinking about different ways where we could experience, family trips together. And so we started trying different vacation rentals and Airbnbs. And really, a lot of times it was a much better experience and sometimes it wasn't. And so there's this big wide range of consistency that we felt. Sometimes you sit on grandma's couch and the dust flies up. And other times you walk into a masterpiece of a beautiful Zen house that gives you an amazing experience. So growing up in a huge family of cousins and aunts and uncles and brothers, it was always, group travel was always at my core ethos. And we felt like there was a better way to deliver an experience than what had been done. And obviously with Airbnb coming around, they opened up the world's eyes to traveling in homes and traveling in people's homes. And so vacation rentals have been here for decades, if not centuries. And really, it was just about bringing a level of consistency, comfort, and experience to vacation rentals, to group travel. And so that's how this started. And I think even going, when from the days of business school, when, you leave to go on a trip and you have no money and you come back and you actually have more money in your bank account than when you left because you leased out your place on Airbnb. So we knew that there was a big opportunity in the space. It's a huge market, and the experience just needed to be elevated. And so that's what we've been focused on.
So you have this idea, and then like, when did you decide to launch this? How long did you kind of think and noodle on it? What was kind of like the lead up to this?
Yeah. So the last company that we did was a SaaS company. And so we ended up selling the company in 2016 to LinkedIn. And as we were going through the transition on the sale, we really started thinking deeply about the intersection between real estate technology and arts and hospitality. We saw that IoT, which stands for Internet of Things, which is hardware in homes, so your Nests and your all the communication that goes from your hardware to software in homes. We felt like that industry was really blossoming and coming into its own. And the ability to communicate with your homes allowed you to kind of scale software around an experience. So we kind of just really focused in 2016 on building a data set that said, here's where we can go deliver amazing experiences to get started. And let's find out what we have and let's test a bunch of different products and theses. So we ended up landing in a place called Indio, California. Do you know where that is?
Wait, Indio, is that outside of Palm Springs?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
exactly. So Indio, California became famous for the Coachella Festival, for Stagecoach. So we ran these data sets across the entire US and we landed in this place called Indio. And I'd never heard of this place in my entire life. And what we were looking for was short-term rental income relative to home prices and rents. That's what we were looking for. And the spread was so great that I looked up Indio and I go, oh my gosh, this is the Coachella Festival where I had been in the Stagecoach Festival. So we ended up taking on a small portfolio in that region, and the economics and the numbers were amazing. We started testing different point solutions. So there were hundreds of different technologies out there, and a lot of it was very antiquated and really had been built on old code. And imagine a house being remodeled over years as opposed to building something from the ground up. Just didn't have the experience or the functionality that we needed to deliver a great experience. And so we got to work and we said, hey, let's figure out what we want to deliver. We want to deliver a world-class group experience. We want to elevate all the customer touch points, both analog and digital, analog being in the home, digital being, the mobile app or the booking experience or splitting payments or picking your room or stocking your fridge. So we started with a very small portfolio in Indio, and then we expanded. And the first year, I bootstrapped the business for about 15 months. And then we decided, you know what? We really feel confident about what we have and the experience that we can deliver and the technology we can build around this to elevate that experience. Let's go raise a seed round. And so that's when in 2018, a year and a half after we started testing and thinking and really just kind of experiencing the world of short-term rentals is when we raised the seed round.
So you have kind of two sets, I might botch this, but kind of two sets of customers. So you have owners of real estate that want to create income on what they own, and then you have vacationers that want to stay in a great spot. So let's kind of break the conversation maybe up into both. So for like owners of real estate, what is your offer to them? And maybe we can get into who they are, how they're investing, how they're thinking, how you're growing from the portfolio side. And then we'll talk about kind of the customer experience after.
Yeah. And they're both very connected. I mean, I think, we'll dig into the customer experience and what it is, but if you build a world-class customer experience, you do one thing for your owners, you generate the most important thing. We do a lot, but it's holistically, when you think of hospitality, we're really doing one thing for owners. We're making them as much money as we can. And we're guaranteeing that. And that's something that nobody ever did. We're guaranteeing the money that we make for you. So we'll say, hey, we'll guarantee you this much money next year. And you don't have to worry about it, and you can refinance off that, and you can bank it, right? You can bank that money. So we always start with the customer experience, but just as far as owners, what do we do is we've spent a lot of time, and I'd say it was about 6 months ago when we really kind of finished the suite for homeowners of building a vertically integrated business to deliver the experience that owners want, which is making more money. So first it's sourcing and underwriting. So a lot of data goes into sourcing and underwriting, making sure that we know what to buy, where to buy, how to buy, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, does it have a hot tub, does it have a bocce ball court, is it on a corner lot? And a part of the economic underwriting, understanding the ROI of all of those components, you also have to overlay that with compliance, so regulation policy. So we have a team that has built a database of regulation and compliance across the country where you can say, hey, this block I can buy on, or I can own, or I can run a short-term rental, but 2 blocks over I can't. And so we work very closely with the cities and the neighborhoods to find, where can we deliver this amazing experience, but also make sure that we're great, additions to the community, and that we're delivering taxes, TOT tax. We pay the same taxes that hotels do. So it's called transient occupancy tax. So we deliver those taxes, and it's great for the city. So that's kind of stage one. Stage two is we'll either buy the house or we'll go in and manage the house, and we'll do a full interior design. So we will do a full scoping of interior design, and we'll actually pay for all your furnishings, all your upgrades, everything. So we'll come in and say, hey, your house is beautiful and it's going to make X as it is today. But if you let us come in and design it and brand it and upgrade it, which everybody usually says yes to, we'll turn it into an AvantStay branded product, and you'll make a lot more money, and we'll pay for it all for you for free. So that's the interior design. Then we'll onboard all of the labor, and a lot of this stuff is done virtually with, technology that we've helped integrate and support and build to do that. And some of the procurement discounts that we do at scale is all passed on to these homeowners. So once the property stood up and looks beautiful from what we call an analog perspective, we then distribute it to our partners, including ourselves. So you find it on AvantStay, which obviously we believe is the best booking experience for group travel. But we also have amazing partners. Airbnb is a big partner, VRBO, Expedia, HomeAway, Bookings, Marriott. So you can now use your Marriott Bonvoy points to book an AvantStay. We have an integration with Internova and Bonitel, where there's 60,000 travel agents on the platform. And once we distribute it, and we have a revenue management team that uses dynamic pricing algorithms that we built, and a lot of tech that really supports, maximizing profits. So data comes in, and you adjust pricing based on seasonality, based on occupancy, based on cohorts. And from there, it's about delivering the experience to the customer and making sure that they have a great time. And so our NPS is, which is Net Promoter Score. I know a lot of people talk about that, but it's a 75, which I think is higher than anywhere I've been where I've built software. And we're dealing with a lot, right? We're dealing with, does the pool work? Does the hot tub work? Is the house clean? Is the fridge stocked? Is the grass mowed? And so there's so many pieces that go into what we do on the logistics side. It's really, think of like Uber or DoorDash for field operations and logistics. So it's on demand as a service, managing homes at scale, best in care class quality, and then of course delivering what we call value added services and amenities. And when you deliver those concierge services to the customer, they're willing to pay more to stay at your house. It's same as Four Seasons. If you go stay at the Four Seasons, the service is so great, so you're going to pay more on a nightly basis. That's what we've been focused on delivering for our owners. So when you say, hey, we do all of this: source, underwrite, onboard, design, distribute, revenue manage, best in care class, quality, concierge, and then deliver automation of insights and portals so that they understand everything that's going on with their house at all times, called Lighthouse. We built a full owner portal where you understand your economics and everything that's going on inside your property. Now you've accomplished the one goal, the one singular goal, which is to make more money, guaranteed. So we actually struggled with this for years. We struggled with, what do we do for owners? And then you start listing out what I just rambled on for 5 minutes talking about, and nobody really wants to hear the ramble. They want to know that you make them more money. And then you can get into the details, because it really is a lot. We do a lot, and it took a lot to stand this up. But now that it's stood up, we do feel, we can take any house and turn it into really a high-powered, cash flow generating machine that delivers an incredible customer experience for, groups.
Are a lot of the people coming to y'all saying, hey, we want to be in Cabo, we have 10 million to spend, help us decide what to buy? Like when you say underwriting, are a lot of people consulting with you before they're buying? Or are they kind of telling you, hey, here's what we have already. Help us turn this into the most profitable kind of vacation rental that we can make it?
Yeah, it's probably the latter. So as the industry has matured, and keep in mind the Airbnb, I think it's only been around for 12, 13 years, something like I mean, it's just so early days. And the short-term rental industry is a third the size of the hotel industry. So you have hundreds of hotel brands and really no short-term rental brands. Airbnb is a distribution platform. So we are to Airbnb as Marriott might be to Expedia. Just helpful to understand that relationship. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really the former, or I think the latter is which is most of the folks already have short-term rentals, and so they come in, they say, "How do you make me more money?" So we come in and say, "Hey, we'll underwrite it. We'll make sure that, and we do all of the licensing, all of the compliance, all of the." And so we say, "Let us come in and brand it as an AvantStay. We'll make this home really kind of gorgeous and turn it into an optimized experience for groups." There's things that you'd be blown away just having a foosball table or a shuffleboard board table. The ROI on this stuff is very high, and you have to have all those components. You need to have a chef's kitchen to be able to cook these amazing meals at night. So I think that's always been the past. But what we've launched recently, and we haven't actually disclosed this publicly, but we launched a brokerage. So we have now, think of Compass for short-term rentals. We have all of the data that says what to buy and where to buy. And so now we can represent individuals who want to buy homes. And we're working with hundreds of individuals and larger institutions and family offices that want to buy short-term rentals and have portfolios. And obviously we see a day in the very near future where there will be STR REITs, short-term rental REITs. So single family residence, there's REITs; hotels, there's REITs; retail, there's REITs. There's REITs for every single real estate asset class except for short-term rentals. So we think that's coming. And for folks that are buying short-term rentals properly, the last thing you want to do is buy on a street that you can't get licensed or that's illegal, and you stand it up and you get your first reservation and the neighbor or somebody calls in and you're shut down, right? Because it's a lot of work to stand up one of these. So it's incredibly important to know where to buy, but also what to buy as far as product. So I think it's really a combination of both. If you have something and you want an estimate from AvantStay and you want to see how we operate and how we can generate great returns for you, then let's have a discussion around how to optimize your current portfolio or your current home. If it's something you're looking to add to a portfolio or buy more, certainly can put you in touch with the brokerage, and they're incredible about finding high yield properties that will generate these returns. And the beauty of it is it's really kind of hands off. If you say, I want to buy a house that's $500,000, I want to buy a house that's $1 million, million and a half, you just call up, you give your buy box and directions, and they will automate it through all of our everything that we built in terms of being able to source and find properties quickly and at scale. And we'll deliver a few options. And from there, if you say yes and you buy the property, it's really hands off for the most part. And then, you get your check.
What's the breakdown between individuals and institutions y'all have over 600 homes now. How many of those are kind of institutions versus individuals? And do you have any data kind of around how each group is growing as this asset class kind of emerges?
It's probably, we were just on at IMN, which is the largest kind of single family residential conference. We were just there, I think it was about a month ago talking about this. But our portfolio is probably 98% homeowners, individual homeowners, and 2% institution. Our belief is but that's obviously just now starting to accelerate. So I think within the next 6 to 12 months, it'll likely be 30% institutional, and then increasing from there. So institutions are getting involved. They're just now starting to buy with us aggressively. We just want to be Switzerland and support propcos. We want to be the non-exclusive. How can we support anybody anywhere find great real estate that they can build a portfolio? So it's early days, and that's the beauty of it is nobody's late to the party. The party's kind of just getting started, and short-term rentals are obviously here to stay. I think the Airbnb IPO solidified that, almost $100 billion valuation, which is I saw a chart the other day. I think it's like combined value of Hyatt, Hilton, Marriott, Wyndham, and IHG all combined, and that's Airbnb. So Airbnb is a behemoth and it's an incredible company, and they have institutionalized short-term rentals. And now you're going to start seeing a lot of capital from REITs and institutional investors come into the space in a very aggressive way. And they're going to need managers to support.
How are lenders underwriting this stuff? Are they just saying, because you buy a piece of real estate, you have a lease, this is the market rate. Obviously, there's seasonality in short-term rentals, there's conventions that come in and prices spike and things of that nature. So are they looking at like historical data? Or if I was a lender, especially for an individual, institutions have kind of a different ballgame. How are they kind of looking at this stuff?
Yeah, that's always the layer in real estate that you have to solve for first is debt, right? And so I think you hit it spot on. Is that's where we went first, was to figure out, are there lenders out there that want to lend on? And there are lenders out there that love single family residential real estate, right? That's where they will give you the best rates of any asset class in real estate. And the reality is that's what we're buying. And in a lot of ways, our downside scenario is a long-term rental. So let's say for some reason, short-term rental, the 200 billion that flows through the market goes away.
Yeah.
It's growing at 7% year over year. Let's just say it all of a sudden vanishes. The worst case scenario is that you long-term rent your property. So now you have an SFR, single family residence, which has the most attractive debt profile of any asset class in the world. And you have it as long-term. So we always look at it as the long-term rental is really a downside scenario, which is the most upside scenario for most single-family residential investors. So I think we spend a lot of time. There are a lot of banks lending on this now. There are a ton of banks. And what do they use? Fortunately, we have 5 years now of data that shows how these things perform. Our same store sales are up 80% year over year. And they've gone up every single year since we started the company. So it's very compelling for them to see the data and the growth and demand. And demand, actually, supply is down 15% year over year because people, especially in a pandemic and COVID, are not wanting people to come in their homes, which is understandable. I mean, why in the middle of a pandemic, you probably are not sharing your home as much. There's also enforcement and regulation that says, look, we love short-term rentals and they're here to stay, but we can't have them everywhere. And so that strips it. But so there's our data, which is a big piece, and working with them to understand seasonality and revenue. And we have enough properties to really show them that performance is bankable. You also have AvantStay guaranteeing leases. So a big portion of the portfolio is leases. And so they can underwrite the AvantStay balance sheet as opposed to worried about seasonality and payments. And then finally, there's this amazing company called AirDNA. AirDNA is the co-star of short-term rental data. So encourage everybody listening in to check out AirDNA. We have a strong partnership with them as well. And you can find a lot of data on there. A lot of times the data will tell you, hey, this market is amazing. Then you want to dig in and really find some details. So we always encourage people, check out AirDNA and then come back and let's really dig in on which property, what the room count set is, what the lot size is, what the zoning and compliance. That is one thing that you won't find is the zoning and compliance on AirDNA, but you will find a bevy of information around the economics and the economic arbitrage that the industry delivers. And they've just built a beautiful platform to deliver some of that information. So the banks are using AirDNA. They're using AirDNA to understand the asset class, understand seasonality, occupancy, ADRs, RevPAR. And so now you're seeing real defensible data. You're seeing institutional capital. You're seeing guaranteed payments from companies that are bankable. And so, it's evolved. I would say about 18 months ago, there weren't really any banks. And now there's a lot.
All right, y'all are in 25 markets. Obviously, what a great market to own a short-term rental is in. Can you just maybe talk to some high-level things that make markets great? Obviously, the biggest one is, are they tourists? Do a lot of people want to come? But what are some things that aren't so obvious that make a market great to look in?
There's a lot. And it's one of those things is what makes it great. It's like, how do I say this? And it's always the Mark Twain quote. I would have written you a shorter letter if I had the time, and I'm probably not great at brevity. So the way that we look at markets are two ways. We look at 2 to 3 hours outside of large MSAs. And so 2 to 3 hour drive. And so we love drive to markets because we think that America is amazing. I mean, it's incredible. And so, like, for example, I never heard of the Smoky Mountains before I visited or before I started the company. Have you heard of the Smoky Mountains?
No. Where are those?
That's incredible. So it's the most visited national park in the country.
Never heard of it.
And you've never heard of it. So we found out that the Smoky Mountains is drivable in less than 8 hours by half the country. And so it's the most, so it's understanding who has access to it and where it is. So everything within 2 to 3 hours, large MSA. So think of LA, we're in Big Bear, we're in Temecula, we're in Palm Springs. Think of the Bay Area, you're in Sonoma, you're in Santa Rosa, you're in Tahoe. If you think of any areas like Charleston, you're Isle of Palms. And so Nashville is one of the many feeders to the Smoky Mountains. And so Gatlinburg. So we look at it as 2 to 3 hours drive to large, and then experiential urban cities. What does that mean? Well, it means that you're probably not going to find us in DC or Philly or Minnesota, not to say that they're not amazing cities, because they are. And it doesn't mean that there aren't great short-term rental opportunities there. But our focus has always been on where can we deliver amazing experience for groups and couples and people coming together. And of course, we have individuals that rent out full homes or smaller homes and who stay in smaller units. But experiential urban cities are going to be your Scottsdales, your San Diegos, your New Orleans, your Miamis, your Charlestons, your Nashvilles. And so those are different. Your Austin, we just launched Austin on Monday. So really excited. Austin's one of my favorite cities in the world. And so you have all these kind of what we call experiential urban. I'm not sure if that's really a thing, but we'll make it
We'll
a thing.
call it a thing. We're making it today.
We'll call it a thing, right?
It's now a thing as of right now.
It's become a thing. Experiential urban. Coin it, trademark it, bank it. It's a thing. So you can get a sense that there's a difference between Nashville and Minnesota as far as what type of experience you're delivering. So that's first at the kind of high level is where do you want to start looking? And then you want to look for places that have, we love national park, but then you want to find places that have pools and restaurants and things to do. I mean, you look at events, right? Anything around event, you're going to end up getting a huge, huge pop for those events. So we like Palm Springs because people look at Palm Springs and they think of Coachella and they think there's Coachella, there's Stagecoach, there's art festivals, there's fashion festivals, the BNP Paribas, which is the 5th largest tennis tournament in the world. There's surf ranches, there's thermal racing track, there's so much to do. I mean, there's the PGA tournament, there's the LPGA tournament. So you really want to kind of find places that have events, that have activities, probably less so places where there's like one event per year, right? If there's like one golf tournament or one tennis tournament, because you're looking for consistency and seasonality and demand. But obviously we are big fans of areas with great weather. And by great weather, I mean weather you can have activities. So the Southeast has great weather for, beach activities and warmth and pools. The mountain towns have great activities for skiing and snowboarding and sledding and snowmobiling. And my team always makes fun of me because I always say s'mores for some reason every time I ever talk. And so there's something about sitting out in the backyard of a house and making s'mores on like when it's snow, like it's one of the better experiences, I think, even though it's so simple. I actually saw somebody do it in a waffle cone the other day. Have you ever seen that?
No.
A waffle cone s'more. It was
That's amazing.
Pretty next level. We might need to trademark that too. So in any case, you look for experiences, you look for areas where you can have activities, and obviously you want to be either in these cities that have action or outside of cities, that have large MSAs. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Because there's clearly obviously places where it's not going to work and places where it'll work better. All right. So if I own a house, let's just say over in the Coachella Valley, Indio, and it appears to be good, what type of contract am I signing with y'all? Is it long-term? Like, what are my menu of options? I'm the real estate owner. What's my relationship with you going to be, assuming now I want to turn this into a short-term rental?
So great question. And there's really two simple options. One is a management fee option where we'll manage your property. We'll come in, furnish it, design it, brand it, make it this beautiful AvantStay property, great experience. We'll layer in all the technology hardware. We'll have it connect to our software. We'll be able to manage the guests and deliver the concierge. And they'll show up and they'll have their massage in the background, their fridge stocked. They'll have their private chef on Saturday night and they'll have a cleaner Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday to come in and support the experience. And all of that is click to touch. And then it's pushed out on demand logistics through all of the back end that we built. So you can run that management fee, or you can say, you know what, instead of partnering with you guys on a management fee approach, which is 99.9% of the industry, I'd like a guarantee. I just want a guarantee. I don't want to, I don't want the ebbs and flows. I don't want to kind of think about, this month is a little bit lower, next month's higher. And so we'll give you an offer and we'll guarantee the monthly rent. So you have two options. One is the guarantee and one is the management fee. And it's your option on which one suits your needs the best. We have people who love to partner and factor into all of the upside of the demand increasing. And for that, we recommend more of the management fee. But there's plenty of people who just love the guarantee and a great investment. And for that, we can offer a lease structure.
Let's take a quick break to highlight this episode's sponsor, Juniper Square. If you aren't familiar with Juniper Square, it's an easy-to-use, all-in-one investment management software designed specifically for real estate owners. We have been using it at Fort Capital for several years now, and it has completely revamped the experience we're able to provide our investors through reporting, management, and efficiency. Here's Brandon Sedloff, Managing Director at Juniper Square, explaining more about their platform.
When we started to look under the hood of these real estate investment managers that were telling us about their problems, one of the things that we identified was that kind of the operating system of record for managing a lot of the most important information was still spreadsheets. They have never been designed to be a system of record, right? And when we started looking at kind of why real estate reporting was the way that it was, what we found is that spreadsheets were being used as a system of record. And the problem that created was it makes it really hard to take this information, get the information out of spreadsheets and get it into the hands of the people who need it the most, which are your investors.
You can check out episode 37 to listen to my full conversation with Brandon or visit cjunipersquare.com for more information. That's junipersquare.com. And now back to the show. All right. So you said you're a tech-enabled hospitality company. When we had our pre-call, you said vertically integrated, horizontally distributed. So let's talk a little bit about the tech and kind of what you meant by vertically integrated, horizontally distributed.
Vertically integrated, we talked about it a little bit before, but it's controlling every touch point of the experience for homeowners and for guests. So think of us as like the Apple for short-term rentals. Apple is a controlled ecosystem, a controlled experience. There's other folks that will integrate in other property management companies or provide tools for property management companies, or be an Airbnb where anybody can list on the platform. So that's more of like an Android experience where you can plug in. So we look at ourselves as a branded hospitality brand that is delivering this controlled experience where we get to deliver every touch point in the experience on the customer journey. The second part of the question?
The second part of the question was just describing a little bit more about the tech you've built based from like the homeowner side and also like what the consumer is seeing and using.
The way that we've thought about the technology, it's really about elevating the experience at each touch point. So what does that mean? So we have your front end booking engine on the website. So that's called Stay. And then we have our Butler, which is our app, our mobile app. So the in-home experience. Voyage is the back-end operating system that runs all the on-demand as a service logistics and runs all of our customer experience and comms and integrates in all the point solutions so we can manage everything in one central source. We have Lighthouse, which is the owner portal where you can go in as an owner and see everything that's happening with your property. And then we also have a bunch of new stuff that's coming out, whether it's tablets and homes and some incredible partnerships that we've integrated in. So I think when you come to our site, we always look at it as, from a booking experience from the front end, is we want to remove a few different friction points. One, we want to remove the friction of time. We want to create velocity around your decision-making process. So when you come to AvantStay, you're guaranteed this beautiful experience that people are going to love. When you go to some of these other booking engines, you're not guaranteed. It's not a guarantee. And so you're spending a lot of time reading reviews, looking at pictures. And so that time is very important. It's the only thing that we can't get back in the world. And so that time is something that you're spending trying to source these properties. We want to remove the friction around time. We essentially want to enable everybody to be their own travel agent. And we want to actually pay you to do it. So we built a wallet now where you're booking trips and you're the decision maker and you're the one group traveler. And I was always the person, spending all the time booking group trips. We want to reward you for it. We want to pay you to be that person to make that decision. So you can build up actual cash dollars with AvantStay by being that decision maker. So time is first. The second one is the finance risk. So usually when you're booking, you're putting up all the money yourself. And that's a risk. And sometimes people go, oh, well, they bail last minute, or my room's not good enough. I'm only going to pay you a fraction, or hey, it's a little bit out of my price. And so what we built is a price splitting engine. So you can split the pricing and everybody can pay, and you don't get a confirmation unless you actually pay. So split pricing is big. Picking your rooms is big. You can actually, now we have a partnership with a firm where you can finance your vacation. So the same way you can finance Target or Walmart or any retail store by getting their credit card, you can now finance through a firm a vacation. In my opinion, you're going to get a lot more value out of a vacation than you are out of maybe a handbag. But that's probably there's probably a lot of people that would disagree with that, and that's fine as well. But so there's that finance risk, and then I think the last piece, which we've thought deeply about, is really the social capital risk. When you show up to a property and you got your 8 best friends there, or your family there, or 2 families, or couples, or even just yourself, somebody is inevitably going to be upset if the place is not perfect. So not only did you spend all your time, not only did you put up all your own money, but now you show up to the property and somebody's upset who probably didn't do anything to get to that point. And it's kind of this very kind of frustrating experience around. So we wanted to remove all of those on the booking side. So now you come to the site, you quickly make a decision, beautiful properties, guaranteed experience, all the click to touch add-ons that you can do immediately after you get there. And then you can split the payments, make sure everybody pays, or you can finance the payment to make sure that you can afford as many vacations as you want per year. And then you show up and there is no social capital risk. There's only social capital upside. And you're stoked because everybody is going to have an amazing time, and you're the hero, right? You're the champion. You're the person who now everybody goes, oh my gosh, thank you so much for planning this. We owe you one, as opposed to, I can't believe you booked this terrible place. So that's the booking engine, the mobile app. We want everybody come into the house and you get on the Wi-Fi, you download the mobile app. And if you want a massage, you go book it. If you want concierge services, you want a stock fridge, you want a delivery. Now we just did a big partnership with GoPuff where you can QR code on the fridge and have delivery within 15 minutes to your house. We have rental cars that show up in your driveway, but the second you arrive. So really thinking about this turnkey, frictionless, effortless experience that we want to deliver. And how does that all work? Well, it all works on the back end, which is the heavy lift of what we built. We always say beautiful, kind of front end local, back end institutional. And the back end piece is very complex, very sophisticated. It takes everything that we try to make very easy on the front end and actually delivers on it. And so that's the Voyage platform. And then, of course, we've started building and have built a lot of tools for homeowners, which is Lighthouse. And we want to enable homeowners to have transparency into what's happening with their homes. So we want them to know what's going on in my home. What are the economics? And so all of that kind of clarity and transparency is very key as you grow, especially as you start to think about buying more or expanding your portfolio. If we can give you transparency, you're going to be very excited about getting more involved in the space in the industry and bringing on more properties. So that's something we've really focused on, and obviously have built the brokerage around that as well. A lot of technology has been built. I would say it wasn't until 8-9 months ago that we really had built a full suite and a full hospitality platform that could deliver at scale all of these components and feel confident aggressively moving. So you mentioned we're in 25 markets, we're in 75 cities, and we're launching a new market every single month with multiple cities. And now that density and that expansion actually allows us to do more. Similar to, imagine Amazon without density, they're not going to deliver you a package the next day. They're not going to deliver you a package same day. So a lot of what we want to do is build enough density in markets so that we can deliver better experiences, more faster delivery of those experiences. But it's getting pretty exciting. I mean, when you stay in a house today versus maybe 2 years ago when we still felt the experience was good, it's night and day. I mean, it's really come a long way, and the industry has come a long way as well.
When you think about home versus hotel, I usually think, you have your own place. It's kind of bigger. You kind of control your own environment. Obviously, you don't have what a hotel has with maid service that's already on site, or you can get room service at the go. But you now have seen like so much data. What are things that you can get in the home that like a hotel will never really be able to provide? Like, what are some of the things that create a moat that makes the home more appealing? I know every time we've vacationed the last 2 years, I think we've rented a home every time. And I've never thought deeply about what, besides my own place and a bigger place and maybe my own pool, what are other things that a hotel will never be able to do that a home can, that will always kind of win on? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think number one is privacy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that, and it's not just privacy, it's safety. One of the things that when we travel with a family, mom would always go, "Where's Josh? Where's Jake? Can you go? Oh, he's in the pool. Oh my gosh, you might fall." And you're feeling like this stress kind of building around, just especially you have 5 boys running around like crazy. You're looking everywhere. When you're in the backyard and it's just your family or two families, and they can do whatever they want. They can run around, do whatever they want. And you know what the best part is? We did this with my friends the other night. Put the kids to bed. And then we walked outside and we sat outside. Kids were in the bed. They were asleep. And we got to have a glass of wine, adult conversation, and you can't do that in a hotel. When you put the kid to sleep, you're not going to leave the hotel room and go downstairs to the lobby bar. And so we actually had the baby monitor with us in the backyard. It was 82 degree, beautiful night. It was something you couldn't experience, impossible to experience in a hotel. I mean, I can't imagine what would happen if you left your kid in the room, went down to the lobby bar. I'm pretty sure that's illegal. So there's those. And I think some of it too is just, obviously for me, space is big. I mean, I stay in so many hotels. And my favorite thing is waking up in the morning, whether it's by myself or with other people, and cooking, breakfast and cooking a meal. I mean, the experience that you get cooking a meal together, I think is very special. It's something you can't do in a hotel room. I think, sitting around a 10 to 12 person table in the backyard, and when they come over the top and you're dropping food down, and, even doing, maybe this isn't for everybody, but even doing dishes. We used to do, growing up, we do dishes. Whoever lost the ping pong match would have to do the dishes. So we'd have brackets and everything. You didn't want to do dishes at a 7-person family. You just didn't. But so, after dinner, you go over and you pop over and you play ping pong, and then whoever loses plays the dish. There's just so much you can do in a home, so much space, so much privacy, so much control. And I think the things that we're missing were some of the hotel experiences. So we always say we want to bring the hotel into the home. And so everything that a hotel has to offer, we can bring it into the home. You want your cleans, you want your fridge stock, you want your service, you want Postmates, you want, the GoPuff, you want your everything that you need that you can have in a hotel, you can have in the home. And to be fair, you can still go to the hotel lobby bar, you can still go to the hotel restaurant, you can still do all of that. And now even there's services where you can go to the hotel pool. If you wanted to pop out to the hotel pool for a day, you can pay for a day pass at the hotel pool. So we really feel like this is a better way to experience cities, I think, and a better way to travel. You also get into these neighborhoods and really feel and experience it in a different way. I mean, there's nothing better than walking out onto the golf course out the front door of your property while the hamburgers and hot dogs are on the grill. And maybe the kids or your friends are jumping around in the pool and you're listening to some tunes. That's just not something you can really do in a hotel. So not to knock hotels, love hotels, but very, very different and a very dynamic experience that I think people are starting to open their eyes up to. I keep going back to my mother. She's obviously been a very instrumental part of my life, but she stayed her first short-term rental like a few months ago. And her son has been in the business for 5. And she goes, oh my gosh, this is incredible. She loves the services and all that. And I go, I've been trying to tell you this for years. So there's a lot of people that in the pandemic, when hotels were shut down, that now have been exposed to this new world, this new way of traveling, this different experience. And I think it's really here to stay, and it's growing. And it's just an awesome way to experience, time with friends, family, loved ones, in kind of a more intimate setting.
All right. You mentioned the magic word. Maybe it's not magic, but COVID. That happened last March. Obviously, most people in real estate, probably for the first 30 days, didn't know what the hell was going to happen. Short-term rentals have been one of the big beneficiaries, if you could call it that, of kind of this changing world and how we think about it. Can you give any data around kind of how travel played out during kind of the peaks of COVID, how long people are staying, remote work, kind of what happened during COVID, and like what gives you more confidence going forward because of what's happened?
Yeah. So when COVID hit, we had 1,750 cancellations in less than 48 hours. And so you just imagine money flying out the door, everybody wondering what's going on. And it was really kind of the turning point for the company. We were going out to raise because things were going so well pre-COVID. We were going out to raise. And I think sometimes people think that COVID all of a sudden made the short-term rental industry was on fire before COVID. And now, sure, maybe it's accelerated a couple years, but the space was already massive and accelerating very fast. So it hit, and we sat there and went, okay, all we need to do is focus on saving the company, because we know that the tailwinds and the secular trends that are coming out of this are going to be massive. So we have to make sure we do everything we can to preserve the company. And so we didn't think about anything other than rolling up our sleeves. We cut every cost and expense that we could. I pulled many all-nighters. I was working 100-hour weeks, and I know the whole team was working insane hours. And so there wasn't a second where people were like, I quit, or I don't want to. It was all hands on deck. Let's figure this out. And we flipped our strategy to MTR. So MTRs are midterm rentals, so 30, 60, 90-day rentals. We were getting what we called heads in beds. It was a strategy to get heads in beds. And what we wanted to do was extend out stays and say, hey, go stay in a home, get out of the city and stay in a home. So we aggressively push everything that we do, which is CDC compliant cleaning. We aggressively push that we had these amazing homes sitting outside of cities that you could get out of the congested cities and go stay. And within a matter of weeks, our homes were completely filled up. I mean, it was like we're at the highest occupancy in company history about 6-7 weeks into the pandemic. And frankly, we probably got too aggressive by putting heads in beds because demand was so high for what we were doing, but we were very much in a risk-off approach. We also had to lay off a huge portion of the staff. We did that, I think, in mid to late April. It was probably 25 to 30%. And the idea was, hey, let's make sure we save the company and let's come back to this as soon as things come back. And I remember giving this impassioned kind of plea of like, we're still going to be here, give us a shot to get the heads in beds and then everybody come back and let's go build this thing, and it was an emotional time. I mean, it was very emotional. It was very challenging. Everybody was going through it. So we're not saying that but we were in the eye of the storm. The hospitality industry was eye of the storm, shut down. Every single person worked around the clock, and we ended up getting these things filled, and we had the highest occupancy. And all of a sudden, summer hit, and we had this explosion of demand. We had no product. We were light staffed. And so people worked harder than they've ever worked in their lives. And we went fully remote, going from 70, 80 people pre-pandemic to call it, 45, to get down to kind of a skeleton scale and cutting a lot of services and things that we felt like we could pause. And then, today we're probably close to 300, if not over 300. And so you go from 50 to 300, but it was probably a 4-week stretch when we go, that might have been I don't want to say the wrong move because we were taking a risk off, but it was like, let's go get as many people as we can. I say this obviously from perspective, but there was a lot of people that didn't have jobs that were laid off. We had an opportunity to really aggressively hire from the cream of the crop, right? The best people. And so we felt like we had an opportunity to build this incredible team during a really challenging time and give people opportunities. And while we weren't hitting on all cylinders, our investors were incredible. And they said, here's some additional capital and continue to focus on building your team and building the company and supporting. Our mission is to bring, make it easier for groups to come together. And the worst thing that we could possibly think of is laying people off in the middle of a challenging time. And so the fact that it was this real short window, we could turn the corner and then aggressively hire and bring everybody back and expand the company and do those was exciting. And so that was really kind of the precipice for us, putting ourselves into a position where we could grow and build the brand across the US. So it was a roller coaster. It was a lot of work. It was exciting. At times it was debilitating. A lot of places shut down short-term rentals because they didn't want people moving around. And so managing through all of that it was just incredible to see what the team was able to do. And ultimately now, short-term rentals are kind of household commodities. I mean, people understand it. It's really, and then the Airbnb obviously IPO'd in December of last year. So, it accelerated a lot of things, challenging environment, but I think very exciting path ahead. And perhaps the most compelling data point is no matter what happens in the world, couldn't imagine anything worse than a pandemic. This asset class is resilient. This asset class can perform no matter what happens. And I think that that's what really opened people's eyes up to getting behind the industry is that no matter what happens, and even in recessions, domestic travel is flat to up. International travel is down about 14%. Domestic's flat to up. So people are not going to stop traveling. We need human connection. We need to travel. It's something we yearn for. And if you shut the whole world down, we're still going to find ways to get out there and experience national parks. I mean, the national parks probably had the highest volume of tourism in history. And so getting outside became more important, spending time, more time with people that you deeply care about instead of, maybe spreading yourself thin was a big component of what the pandemic kind of highlighted. So it was crazy, but it was something that we were able to kind of navigate. And here we are, and we're better and stronger for it.
Dude, that's an awesome story. Congrats. I know I can't imagine, especially being in hospitality, what maybe April and March was like last year. That was scary stuff, man. All right. I got one more question on the business, and then I want to chat for a little bit, and then we'll bring it home about your reality show. But what's like AvantStay in the next 3 to 5 years? What's kind of the path forward? What would be a great thing 5 years from now? If you did what would you have accomplished?
So I think what would make me incredibly happy is to give people more opportunities to come together and spend time together. And so that means less time planning. That means less time thinking about it. That means more time activating experiences. And so, if we can create velocity around groups and people getting out there and experiencing all these amazing things that are really in our backyard most of the time, that would make us very happy. And I think part of it is when you show up, I mean, not only is it let's make it easy for you to book, but when you show up, you start your vacation right away. We talk a lot about the last thing you want to do is start your vacation and go to Vons and go to the grocery store and buy a floaty and pump it up and fill the fridge and start, go down to concierge and start booking everything. Like, you should show up and you should start right away. You should go jump in the pool and there should be a drink waiting for you. It's really about how do you create this effortless vacation rental experience? How do you remove all the friction points so that you can do it more often with the people you love and meet also great other people? I mean, how many times have you been on vacation and you met best friend from a friend of a friend, right? And so do that. But then when you show up, it's a vacation. It's not work. Going to the grocery store for 10 people, it takes hours. This is the last thing you want to do for your first 2 or 3 hours after you've been working all week. So that's the vision. The vision is bringing people together more frequently and being able to start and interact and engage immediately when you get there.
All right. You won an Emmy, or I believe you won an Emmy for a company called Staycation, or for a TV show called Staycation. What the hell was that all about? And what? Tell me a little bit about that, and then we'll bring it home.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, who knows what the hell it was all about? I mean, it was kind of crazy. I mean, we did win an Emmy. At least that's what they told us. I remember FaceTiming with my good friend Rob Valletta when it was being announced, and we went crazy because we were so excited, but we were also, I think at least I was. I mean, he wasn't because he's kind of a vet, but I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that just happened. But Making It Media, Rob Valletta, had this idea to essentially go around and present homes, and so he all these homeowners walk you through homes, and they show you these beautiful experiences. And so we thought it was a great idea. We went in and we started walking people. We did a couple episodes. Then Rob said, hey, why don't we do more together? And we create a little bit of a dynamic environment. And so then we started doing more. So you see, the local short-term rental, and then you go over to AvantStay, and it's this, I don't want to say a friendly competition, but it was, you could see, different experiences, and you could, and not that one's better or worse, they're all great, but it was really cool. And obviously in a time where everybody's sitting around being like, oh my gosh, I want to travel, I think that probably helped, because people go, man, this is very much on trend. But the Making It Media and Rob Valletta and these guys, they did an incredible job. It's so fun to watch. I think, it's like Cribs, coming to the forefront for short-term rentals, MTV Cribs. And that was, people love seeing inside these homes. And I think it's something that they can really, that they can relate to. I mean, anybody can go get a shuffleboard table and put it in your house and have a great time. And so some of these things really give you great ideas about how you can build experiences to have these hospitality environments, as opposed to, who wants to just be in a house to live in? Let's have a house to have a good time in. So it was cool. We won it. Who knows how it all happened, but I would encourage everybody to check it out. We're going to do a bunch more. So it's going to be fun. I think now we're, even thinking about, involving, I won't announce it. We'll announce that later.
All right, man. As a real estate guy myself, I really have taken a lot from this. I believe in the asset class. I wouldn't be surprised if I was an owner of one not too far from now. It's really cool what you're building, and thanks again for taking time today. You're building a really cool thing.
Thank you so much. Hopefully, you and I can experience one of these soon.
Yeah.
We'll have a little.
We need to come together.
What's that?
Yeah, we need to get our friends together to come together and make the mission happen.
We got to make it happen. So that's on me. I'll be the booker.
All right.
Because I want my wallet to go up in value.
That's it. And I'm not going to be complaining. You're going to be the hero.
I'll be the hero.
All right, man.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate it. Have a good one. Hey everyone, it's Chris here again. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star rating, or write a quick review. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Chris Powers is the founder and CEO of Fort Capital LP. All opinions from Chris and guests of the Fort Podcast are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of Fort Capital LP. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for real estate or investment decisions. The Fort with Chris Powers is produced by Straight Up Podcasts.